Well, what is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. Today, on the table in front of us, we have what is absolutely one of my top knives of this year. This is the Artisan Centauri, and this is a stellar pocket knife designed by Laconico, built by Artisan. It is, well, it's simply one of the best pocket knives I have ever owned, and that is saying a lot, given the depth and breadth of my collection. It is comfortable in hand. The blade design lends itself to your everyday tasks exceptionally well. It is S35VN. It is running on bearings. It has a really nice carbon fiber show side, beautifully clean titanium lock side. It is a frame lock, as you can see, and lockup is just at 50%. Mine came dead centered. Well, let's get it lined up with the camera so we know what we're doing. It is just dead on centered. It is a front flipper, and it is probably the easiest front flipper I have ever owned or seen. Now, often when I show people this knife, they say I don't like front flippers. And in a lot of ways, I don't blame you. Many of them require sort of a lot of learning curve, where to put your thumb, how to make it work and stuff. The Centauri here, with this beautiful raised lip of the blade, just... Look, if you've never held a front flipper, this might take a little practice. But if you've held even one other front flipper, this knife is going to ring out as super easy to use to you. It is just really well done. Now, I love Laconico's designs. I have this one. This is the XLC from Monterey Bay Knives. Women Carry Knives has the Easy C, which is the small version of this. We'll get to this later. But Artisan has taken Laconico's design and made it mass-produced and mass-available. These are about $199 in this format. And frankly, it's just absolutely worth it. It really is. Now, these have been out a while. A lot of the reviews of this have already come and gone. But I wanted to bring it out, primarily because I just recently got it. And also because this is the kind of knife that deserves not to fall by the wayside in this ever rapidly advancing knife market. You know, companies drop 5-6 knives at a time. New stuff comes super fast. Reviewers look at a knife and then just sort of move on. These are still available and still an absolutely superior pocket knife. They really are. They make a small one that comes in micarta. They make a version of this in Artisan's Damascus, which is very beautiful, but not my thing. They make a ton of variations on this knife. And I hope that this is one of their staples. It's a Laconico design, so you know it works, and I hope that this maintains in their sort of stable of knives for a very long time, because it is, well, it's exquisite. And for less than $200, not much less, but for less than $200, it is just such a win. Let's talk about why. Okay, Laconico, particularly in his Monterey Bay Knife stuff, loves the sort of just simple handle, but this one has a little bit of a curve to it, right? As opposed to the XLC, which is basically just flat, right? And that means that for my big old hand, and again, I have a big hand, this thing settles in, there's plenty of knife hanging out the back. It's got a great spot for your thumb to land if you want. It's got jimping right where you want it if you're going to choke up a little bit. The overall shape and design means that when this thing is locked into your hand, it doesn't go anywhere. And that is an absolutely superior design aesthetic and ideal. So let's look at what you get. As I mentioned, it is S35VN, of which Artisan does a fantastic job. I have never had even a tiny bit of trouble with their S35. You get 1, 2, 3, just under 3.5 inches of cutting on 3.5 inches of S35VN. It is a nice tall blade with a beautiful swedge right here, right? That allows it to come down to a very, very nice edge, and it holds that edge. The tip is stabby without being super, like, thin. Of course, don't pry with your knives, but there's enough meat down here to keep it safe. If you're, thinking about getting into a gas station argument, the shape of the blade would lend itself to that. And in fact, the reverse hammer grip on this knife is very comfortable, although I don't know why anyone would need that. The overall design of the knife means that if you are doing fine cuts, right, up on it this way, you have a ton of control right at the tip, which is really very nice. And of course, you can do a stab and draw cut. It's perfect for cuts in all directions. It is simply an elegant and well-made and well-thought-out knife. The pocket clip is integral. In other words, there's no screw, right? It is screwed in from the back side, so it is a very, very clean design. It has a good ramp, lots of good spring, and it is big enough even for really, heavy pockets. If you're wearing like 511 style pants or really thick denim, this thing is still going to slip in and out of the pocket very well. Because of its overall design, right, it rides the pocket super well. Now, it's not super thin this way, right, but it doesn't eat up real estate, in a way that interferes with you. Basically what I'm getting at is you can carry more than one thing in your pocket if you're carrying this, and yet you still get a really... And of course I missed the flip. Anyway, you really get a nice size knife to do your daily tasks. The blade is sort of a machine satin, which does make it a little bit of a fingerprint magnet, but that's okay. It is a rougher satin on the flats. There's very little billboarding. There, of course, is the Artisan logo on one side, the serial number, and the blade steel on the other, done very, you see it right there, very small. I love this thing. Let's do some size comparisons just because that seems to be what we do. Here it is against the Ritter Hogue. And if we line those up, you can see that they are almost the same length. The Artisan Centauri here has a little more cutting, but not much, and a little tiny bit more handle, right? But it is considerably thinner, right? It is a very, very lean knife, and so it sits, as I said, in the pocket really well. Here it is against the bug out. Right, and as you can see, it is considerably larger than the bug out, but of course it is. The bug out is a small knife. Let's go ahead and weigh it. I have not done this yet, so this will be information for you and me. It comes in at 3.7 ounces, so it's a little bit over the inch per ounce line that a lot of EDC guys like, but not much. And most of that has to do, I think, with the size of the handle that you get with this knife. Again, this blade shape is probably just about the perfect blade shape and design for EDC use. It's got just enough belly for cuts that way. It's got flats down here at the end. It's got a nice robust tip. I think it's beautiful. I love this thing. Of course, I like Laconico designs, so that doesn't hurt. The overall specs on this thing for, blade stock and so forth, let's take a look. The blade stock back here at the thickest point is 3.2 millimeters. And the handle itself at its thickest point, which is hard to get to because of that clip, but we'll go right there, is 10 millimeters or under ½ inch, right? So as I said, it is lean in the pocket and yet very, very comfortable in hand. So this was a gift from Women Carry Knives to me. She knew that I wanted one. I'd had an opportunity to get one. I moved on to other things. It didn't quite happen. And yet as soon as this thing landed and I got it in hand, I knew that it was going to be a permanent part of the collection and a long-time favorite. On the back spacer, it says Laconico and then Artisan Cutlery, right? But it's done really small and sort of elegantly so it doesn't shout at you or anything. In fact, that's kind of this knife's whole jam. It is a big knife that is actually fairly elegant and well thought out. It's certainly well sorted. If you are looking for an interesting, really usable, comfortable in hand knife, the Artisan Centauri is absolutely a direction you should look. It's a little different from everybody else's knives, and yet not in such a way that interferes with its competence as a knife. Some knives lean so far into being interesting that they give up some of their functionality, and the Centauri here is just not one of those. So that's where we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. If you are interested in a knife like this, they are available out there right now. The small ones are available too in a whole bunch of different varieties. I hope you have enjoyed this. I know I have enjoyed sharing it with you, and I know I enjoy owning it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.